Hello, so I actually finished filming this video just now, but I realized I did not film a proper intro. When I started this video, I was only at I think 9 books that I'd read in this year, and I wanted to read 20, and I knew that was not going to close the gap, but I wanted something to motivate me to at least read a little bit more towards the end of the year. So I wanted to make this video that's this video ends when I find a book that's 5 stars. Inspired by Jack Edwards, but unfortunately I found the 5-star book kind of quickly, but I still had fun filming this. I had fun filming my thoughts throughout the reading process, so yeah, enjoy. I already started reading a book today, and I guess that this will be my first book of this video, but it was This Is How You Lose the Time War. I am already at page I think 65 or something like that out of 200. It's not a very long book, and I can't say how I feel just yet, which I think is good because I don't want to already have an opinion on if it's 5-star or not. Just kidding, I kind of already do. I don't think it's gonna be 5 stars. I'm around 75 pages in, or I am 75 pages in, and I think that my issue with sci-fi or fantasy books is that oftentimes the beginning of the book or a significant portion of the book kind of feels like something that you just have to get through. You kind of have to just read and push through and hope and believe that it's going to make sense later. And it will make sense later. But I think I really don't like the process of that. I finished This Is How You Lose the Time War last night, and I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 from me because I can't say I really enjoyed it very much. The concept was really unique and interesting. I wish I was smarter because I think I could explain what I'm feeling more, but it just felt a little cheap, I guess. Like it was using it purely as a vehicle to express more ideas. It's kind of and without having to flesh it out or to fully dive into it, because it's supposed to be surface level and these chapters are meant to be short and the letter is gonna come soon anyway. Not that I would want each chapter to really explain how the mission is gonna work, but it felt kind of like a superficial level of creativity in that way, which I know maybe contradicts what I just said about it being a very unique idea, but it just didn't feel very fleshed out. It's kind of like in Tomorrow and Tomorrow, in Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Let's say the author made it so that in that book, the main characters would kind of briefly talk about a game idea and not have to really go into detail about them. But it sounds vaguely cool, but the details are kind of brushed off, and it's kind of you can tell that the author is just using its premise, which is that these are game developers, to just create slop. I know slop is a very harsh word, and I feel like I'm not someone who's allowed to sound this harsh about a book review. But yeah, just a bunch of slop, random game ideas that aren't these ideas are not fleshed out. Then as a reader, I'd feel kind of not compelled. Just want to document that I am now starting my next book for this video, which is The Postgirl Office. I actually wanted to read Beware of Pity, but I felt like it was a little bit too dense for how I'm feeling right now, so I picked up something that's a little bit shorter. I'm only on page 17 of The Post Office Girl, and I actually really like it. I like the style in which it's written. I enjoy the pace. I enjoy what the author chooses to focus on. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. Post Office Girl. Loved this one. Really felt all of her emotions, her excitement, her her anxiety, and ultimately her depression. I felt it so strongly to the point where, spoiler alert, you can skip a few seconds, when her lover suggests that they kill themselves, I was happy for her. I don't know if this is okay for me to say, but yeah, I was kind of oh my god, like, you're so miserable, there's no future here. Like, it really draws you through that. And then when it reaches a conclusion of the thought of suicide, it seems like a way out. And I thought that that was really well done. And then even what follows after, which I won't say. I don't know why I'm spoiling some things and not some other things, but what follows after also, like, I feel like made me provoke the same emotions in me that did in her. Um, so yeah, I was a big fan of this. My first Steven Zweig. This beginning reminds me of Donna Tartt's The Secret History. I'm reading The Bee Sting, and I'm at page 47 of The Bee Sting. I just had a few ideas that I want to say, I guess, or like impressions as of now. One, I kind of am enjoying like the more present time like setting. I think I kind of enjoy that. It doesn't feel like exactly like right now, like no one's mentioning TikTok, thank God, but there's, because I think something about it being too modern sometimes feels gross if it's too trendy or like, yeah, in with the times. But I think Instagram is nostalgic enough that it just kind of feels like this would have taken place while I was in middle school, which maybe it did. And also Elaine and Cass, the two best friends, the way that they are together kind of reminds me of how like girls are friends when they're younger. I know they're in high school here, but it reminds me a lot about like middle school. Not because I had like friendships that exist in the same way, like in this specific toxicity or anything like that, but I guess like some likeness, like kind of just having that best friend that is like that you guys just do everything together. You guys go to each other's places after school. You're a little bit mean because you don't understand the world and you don't understand like why you're even, you know. But also at the same time, maybe the fact that this book reminds me of my middle school self is a little bit of a red flag, because she is supposed to be like a senior in high school. So maybe it kind of shows there's a disconnect between the author and his characters. Sometimes the way that she thinks or her lack of awareness just seems a little too harsh. Like, I know, I mean, it was so long ago, but when I imagined myself in high school, I know I was really stupid. But I don't think I was this unaware or this like lost in the sauce. That seems like middle school mentality to me. And even then, like, I don't know. So also maybe Cass is stupid. Maybe like that's what the author intended. Oh my god. I freaking hate Cass. But yeah, this moment here is what makes me feel like her dad goes crazy and kills his whole family and then himself. Not as an act of hate, but an act of mercy and shame, which is sad. But also maybe I'm wrong. I'm only again on now page 69. So I just finished The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. It's like nearly 3 in the morning, and I don't know how I'm supposed to go to sleep after that, because what the fuck? I don't really know how to like talk about the ending without just having to go through the entire book and explain the entire book, because everything is just so like intricate and interlaced, and you have to explain from the beginning what happened to understand but at some point he stops using punctuation, he stops using like commas, periods. It was honestly a little bit annoying to read, like, because sometimes you would get confused or like lost in the words. But I think towards the end, as the story just crescendos, it really feels like appropriate, because there's just such a rush to get through and you can't stop for a breath. And the I'll say is, I don't know exactly how I feel about this book, because I know how I feel emotionally and how intense the read was, and also how incredibly engaged I was. Like, I can't lie. But at the same time, I could feel that I was ironically so engaged and so like intrigued by what was gonna happen that I didn't take time to digest like a lot of what was said. This was a part that I really liked. This little paragraph here says, And Dickie knew that this was a pivotal moment. He could feel it, literally. The room swaying ever so gently up and down as if it were balanced on a point, listing towards one future than another. I really felt like I was like in that room with Dickie and Frank in that moment. And I just love the way that he put it. Because I feel like even if not everyone's gone through this kind of moment before, I feel like maybe you can understand it, what it's like to just have such a meta moment of knowing that like I am choosing like the trajectory of my life right now. Obviously every decision has its consequences, but those moments where you just feel like you have such a high level of agency, yeah, I don't know, I really like this. Hello. So it is the next day, and for the first time in a while I have finished all of my physical TBR, which means basically that on my bookshelves there's not a single book that I own that I have not read, minus a really old copy of Norwegian Wood that I bought for like $2 at a used bookstore. We ignore her. What that means now is I can buy more books, but guilt-free. But for now I just want to talk about this book real quick, which I do think I'm gonna give 5 stars. I know that I was a bit hesitant last night when I finished it, but I think the more and more I recall kind of my journey with this book, I just remember being so absolutely engrossed and constantly telling the people around me like how phenomenal it is, like from beginning to end, honestly. And the ending really struck me. I had such an emotional reaction to it that I don't know what is, or actually I do know what. I'll tell you what hesitation I have. I think that there would be moments in the book where the author might offer something worth pondering on, maybe some idea or some philosophy, and usually when I read, I really like to like take my time to chew on those things, you know, and maybe underline them if they resonate with me. But I really felt like any grander ideas of life that this book was trying to offer me, I completely ignored. Not because that there were not enough of them, or even I can't say if they were poorly executed or anything like that, but because I was so obsessed with knowing what was happening to this family, I was biting off pieces and swallowing without chewing, because I wanted to know. I want to know the events. So then I think at the end, this is not a spoiler, but like the last words are, "It is for love. You're doing this for love." And so it kind of ends on, yeah, again, a philosophical note. And when I read that, I like did not really care about that line, to be honest. You know, I cared about what happened at the ending, the plot point. And so when I was faced with that line, I was like, shoot, did I miss the author's message here? Because I was so obsessed. And because of that, I feel like I can't give it a fair assessment. Like, was this random? Did it feel very like a nice cinch to the story in terms of this kind of idea? I mean, there's plenty of motifs in this book. I can recall these motifs. The biggest one being like the squirrels in the woods. But even that, I don't feel fully confident. I'm like, shoot, I feel like I could have missed something. I could have glossed over something in a hurry. But you know what? I loved it and enjoyed it so much and thought it was so good. And the writing was great. And the author's ability to capture emotions was so beautiful that I can't ignore it. And I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars and end this video right here. So this was a great read to end 2025 on. I am mildly disappointed on how short this video might be because I only lasted 3 books before I found a 5-star book. But that is, I guess, the authenticity of this video that I'm making. Okay, thanks for watching.